What is up, guys? Here we are doing the pod recap for week three. You might wonder why it's my only beautiful great face gracing the podcast this week. Well, the boys have ditched town. They're in Vegas. They're out of here. They're gone. They're kaputs. They're out at the tables, having some drinks, chasing the ladies of the night, trying to win some money. Maybe they'll throw me a 50 when they get back for keeping this ship afloat. But I'm who you got this week, and we're going to do things a little bit different since I don't have my fellow bro colleagues here to do the show this week. I'm going to run through the matchups from last week real quick, and then I am going to break down a few starts of the week. It's something new we're trying. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if you guys like it, and we'll see if I get them right, more interestingly. So, looking back at week three, topsy-turvy week. I mean, we had the revenge of the nerds, the revenge of the gingers. Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold on top of the world. Joe Burrow, I guess he's blonde, but whatever. He played well too. Yeah, Jane Daniels have a good week. But a lot of weird performances. Juwan Jennings putting up 41 points in my team. But, you had a lot of interesting performances in week three. So to start it off, I'm the only one here. We're going to break down my matchup first. We're going to do these quick. I don't have anybody interrupt me this week, so we're going to burn through it. So obviously, everybody saw what Jane Daniels did on Monday night. 91% completion rating, 3 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground, 250, ran for about 40, 50 yards too. The guy's on fire. He's the best rookie quarterback in his class. I've been saying it all summer long, and that's why he's on my team. Brees Hall did all right. He had a lot through the air, had 50 on the ground, got a touchdown, did Brees Hall things. We're a little bit worried about Braylon Allen. The kid looks good. He looks better, honestly, than he did in college at Wisconsin. He's running hard, he's running strong, and he's going to keep earning carries. I think Brees Hall is going to be fine, but he might not be as big time as we all thought he was when I took him where I took him in the draft. Josh Jacobs, kind of a down week. They didn't really run the ball that well against Tennessee. And when they were running the ball well, it was Emmanuel Wilson who was on my bench. So, Josh Jacobs kind of the only dull spot in my lineup, maybe other than tight ends, which tight ends suck for everybody. So who cares? Marvin Harrison followed up a great week with a good week. 5 for 64, got a touchdown. DK Metcalf, not a lot of catches, but he had the one bomb for 70 yards with a touchdown. That'll make any week. 13.5-point play. Terry McLaurin was the greatest thing that I saw on Monday night was him and Jaden Daniels connecting on deep shots. That's something they didn't let Jaden Daniels do yet this year. He was great at it in college. They finally unleashed him against a bad Bengals secondary, and Terry McLaurin was the primary beneficiary of that. 18 points for Terry McLaurin. Kyle Pitts, again, whatever about tight ends. Kyle Pitts had one really nice long catch. That's the only reason why he got almost 7 points. Defense, who cares about defense? We already talked about Juwan Jennings. 11 catches, 175 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It sounds like this coming week that George Kittle might be back in the lineup. It's going to be a little iffy whether you play Juwan Jennings this week. Me talking to me here a little bit. But if any of you have other leagues, I don't know. I'm a little shaky because if we got another guy in the offense that's going to be taking some targets away, if the defense this week focuses on Jennings because Brandon Ayuk is doing nothing, we might see an all-time great week followed up by a stinker. We'll see. On Todd's side, it was nothing to write home about. We were all high on New Orleans. Everybody thought New Orleans was a world-beating team. They come in, lay a stinker. It's not really 100% at the feet of Derek Carr. Rashid Shaheed dropped several deep passes. They would have, at least one of them would have resulted in at least another 6-7 points here for Todd. And that's a much different week than 8. James Conner, you cannot run the ball in the Detroit Lions right now. You throw the ball. That's what you do in the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions D-line is great. They have good linebackers. They're not particularly strong in the secondary. James Conner was completely shut down on the ground. Bucky Irving, solid up-and-coming running back, had a nice week for Todd, 10 points, just about. Leaving Rachaad White in the dust. Problem is right now, He might not be playing this next week because he picked up a little bit of an injury. Tyreek Hill, we all know what's going on in Miami. He doesn't have a quarterback that can get him the ball. 5.5 points. Mike Evans, 2.7. Mike Evans will be fine. That was a weird game. Bo Nix looked like a world beater. Denver came to play. Tampa Bay didn't. And they got blown out at home. It was embarrassing. And quite frankly. Jake Ferguson had a solid week against Baltimore in a blowout. They had to throw the ball a million times. Jake Ferguson is Dak Prescott's safety blanket, and he got a lot of catches. He racked up 95 yards. Nice week, especially for tight end right now. Drake London followed up a touchdown performance, a game-winning touchdown performance in week 2, with another touchdown performance, solid stat line, 6 receptions, 67 yards. You like to see it. Jalen Tolbert, we're doing this on Friday, so we know what Jalen Tolbert did yesterday. I think Jalen Tolbert's a good wide receiver. However, yesterday in Thursday game, it was all CeeDee Lamb. The week before against Baltimore, everybody but CeeDee Lamb caught a touchdown. Jalen Tolbert caught one. He gets 12 points. Todd's bench, nothing really there. My bench, there was points left there. But like I said, let's keep it moving. We got Team Cobra Kai in Austin against King Taylor. Really, quite honestly, thought for most of the day, Austin had this wrapped up. And then you see Saquon go absolutely nuclear like he's been doing all year long. The guy might run for 2,000 yards this year, puts up 31. That's the difference in this matchup. Alvin Kamara had a nice game for Austin. Didn't get in the end zone that I can see here. Jalen Hurts, no touchdown passes. Devonta Smith goes down in that game. Who are they going to throw the ball to in Philly? Well, against the Saints, it was clearly Dallas Goedert. The man went for 170. Brian Robinson Jr. for Austin gets a touchdown, 33 yards. The kid's looking good. He's going to get even more work this week when they go to play Arizona because Austin Eckler is out with a concussion. CeeDee Lamb, we talked about it, did nothing this week. We saw what he did last night. We were trying to trade for CeeDee Lamb, to be honest with you. Didn't really want to give up probably what Austin wanted, and the price probably just went up. So good luck to you if you're trying to get him. Stephon Diggs, again, getting blown out. It's not necessarily always bad for your fantasy team because he got 10 catches, 94 yards. I do like him to have another big week this week, particularly because they're playing Jacksonville, and the Texans passing defense needs to get right. They got embarrassed by Minnesota, and Tank Dell's probably not going to play. Mark Andrews, woof, 0 points. I don't know what's going on with that man. I don't know if he ain't right or they forgot he existed. Apparently, Todd Monken came out after this game against Dallas and said he wasn't aware that Mark Andrews wasn't on the field. You're the offensive coordinator, man. You're the one in charge of getting him on the field. What are we doing? It's a mess in Baltimore in terms of what's going on with the tight ends. Calvin Ridley did nothing. It was a DeAndre Hopkins game. You have Jai Alexander out there. Jai Alexander picked off a pass that was going to Calvin Ridley, took it to the house. So he's one of the best corners in the league. You're going to have that. I don't think we need to talk about Jerry Jeudy. He had an okay game. Defense, again, who cares? Defense is so up and down. I mean, you got a good one. You got a bad one. I don't know. You play the matchups. That's what I do. Maybe you got the best one and you hold on to them and they're good every week, but it's defense. It's hard to predict. Unless you're going against Bryce Young, apparently. Then it's the easiest thing in the world. CJ Stroud on the other side. We talked about what Steph Diggs did. CJ Stroud was slinging the ball around, trying to come back in that game. He only put up 1 touchdown, though. He gets 10 points. CJ Stroud honestly hasn't looked that good this year. I think he's going to get right this week, like I was saying. Jahmyr Gibbs had a nice game against Arizona for Allen, 16.3. The running backs were the story of this week for Allen, clearly. Tank Dell mentioned him. He did okay, about 9 points last week. However, probably not playing this week. Brian Thomas Jr., clearly the best thing in the Jacksonville passing game that has looked horrendous. They got absolutely boathoused by Buffalo. That game was over by halfway through the second quarter. Josh Allen is running away with the MVP through 3 weeks, so let's pump the brakes. But the guy looks out of his mind good, and he doesn't even have Steph Diggs. He's on another level this year. Travis Kelce, where is he? Who is he? I don't know. Is his brother playing because the man looks slow and he can't get open. 5 points for Travis Kelce. Carson Steele looks like a solid pickup for Allen. The Chiefs love to run the ball this year. Carson Steele runs hard. They have no reason not to burn the legs off him. They're not paying him barely anything. Okay, he was a undrafted free agent, if I recall. So I bet he's getting paid 5 cents a game. So run the man up the middle. He's a big, strong guy. He plays enthusiastically. He wants a Super Bowl ring. Let it rip. Javonte Williams. Holy cow, the running backs in Denver are bad. The best one might be the third guy on the team, Tyler Bidet, I guess is how you say his name. He's honestly probably talking really fast. Anyway, we got ahead of ourselves, folks. We might edit this part. We'll see. We keep it real around here. Anyhow, we're going to keep it rolling because we're here for the people. Anyhow, on the benches, really not a lot to write home about. Keon Coleman on Allen's bench probably would have had a bigger game if he learned how to show up on time to meetings, because apparently he was benched in the first part of that game because he can't get the meetings on time. Into the next matchup. Good win for Allen. The Butthole Wreckers have started off the year 0-3, folks. And while we care for our friend Cody, it kind of feels good inside, doesn't it, folks? Kind of feels good. 89 points for Cody. You hate to see it. He put up a great week last week. We beat him by 2 points. Sucks to suck, eh? Anyway, Jared Goff has not been as advertised. He's playing in all these domes, but he's not putting up big points. Man needs to get more passing yards. He needs to get more touchdowns. He needs to stop turning the ball over. 1 week he gets the touchdowns, but he's turning the ball over, and it's a low overall passing game, or they're running the ball. You've yet to see that big, huge week out of Jared Goff where Amon-Ra is going nuts, Laporta's going nuts, James Williams is going nuts, 3 touchdowns, 250. That's what he was hoping for, and we haven't really seen it yet. Bijan, that game got away from Atlanta. Again, 12.2, okay? It's a respectable outing, but not what you're hoping for out of a guy that we all think could be the RB1 with his talent. I don't understand how Atlanta continues to drop the ball in terms of their offense, but they are. Not a great output against Kansas City. Obviously, Kansas City, world champions, they're going to figure out how to stop you one way or another. They have a solid defense, but they're not the best in the league by any stretch of the imagination. The best thing on Cody's team right now is James Cook. The man's getting it done week in, week out. He's putting up great performances. James Cook might be a top 5 running back by the end of this year. The Bills look good, ladies and gentlemen. Devontae Adams had a whatever week with the Raiders getting absolutely machine gunned by the Red Rifle himself, Andy Dalton. Welcome back to the NFL, Mr. Dalton. Goes for over 300, 3 touchdowns. The Raiders fall. I don't know how we don't get Devontae Adams the ball more than 4 times in a game where we're struggling. Zay Flowers also did nothing. They didn't need him to. It was Derrick Henry all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Give me 2 lumps of sugar in my coffee, please, Mr. Henry. Mike Gesicki. He's a solid spot start. Mike Gesicki, 6-7 points out of your tight end. Seems like all you can hope for right now. None of them are doing anything. Travis Kelce doesn't exist, like we said. All the top guys are doing absolutely nothing. You had maybe 1 or 2 tight ends last week that did something nice. Rashee Rice is the other revelation on Cody's team right now. He's getting all the catches. He's getting all the yards. He's finding the end zone, it feels like, every other week. He's taking care of everything that Kelce's not doing in that offense. And Pat Mahomes loves him. And why wouldn't you? He runs crisp routes. He's playing well. Big thing that cost Cody in this matchup was, unpredictably, in a game where Deshaun Watson was sacked almost 10 times, Amari Cooper gets off the schneid, 7 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Giants got a bad pass defense in the secondary, okay? So when the ball was able to get out of Deshaun Watson's hands, Amari Cooper was able to do something with it. they still were getting sacked left and right. But anyway, nice work, Amari Cooper. Fortunately, on the bench. For Jacoby's team, he had a solid week out of Patty Mahomes. Seems like Patty Mahomes ain't what he used to be. He hasn't been over 20 points in his last 12 games, but he is consistent. He'll get you a solid 15 a week. I don't know if he's got the upside that he used to have. They're running the ball too much in KC. They're dinking dunking down the field with Rashee Rice. And like I said, Travis Kelce's non-existent. Kyron Williams and Zach Charbonnet was what won this matchup for Jacoby. Kyron Williams did it on the ground, did it through the air. The Rams inexplicably come back, even with the nuclear bomb that Juwan Jennings and Brock Purdy dropped on their defense. They come back, find a way to win this game on their home turf against a hated division rival in a game that nobody expected them to win. It was heavily on the back of Kyron Williams. Zach Charbonnet, Miami's got nothing on offense. Seattle knows this. Let's pound the ball with Charbonnet, give him everything. He gets in the end zone twice. He scores 24 points. Courtland Sutton, solid week. Bo Nix looked good. He puts up 10. I don't think you're going to get that every week out of Courtland Sutton, but Bo Nix showed you signs of hope in that Denver passing offense. Granted, Tampa Bay potentially has one of the worst secondaries in the league, and they did not show up to that game as a team whatsoever. Brenton Strange gets in the end zone, 2 receptions, 12 yards. He's been doing that. I think he got in the end zone week 2 as well. I don't know what Evan Ingram did in his pregame warm-up, but he must have completely ripped his hamstring completely in half because something's wrong with that man, and he ain't seeing the field. Brenton Strange filling in, I guess, okay for a tight end. If he scores a touchdown, you're happy. He did this week. Rest of the lineup's not really much to write home about. Christian Kirk, Jerome Ford, solid but not great weeks. Brock Purdy on the bench is where Jacoby maybe went a little bit wrong. Could have got another 10 points. I probably would have played Purdy, to be quite honest with you, because I know how bad the Rams' defense is. But hey, he won the week. Good job, Jacoby. 0-3 butthole records. I'll say it again because it feels nice. Anyway, next matchup, we got Erica against Jake Wilson. Jake Wilson, after taking the league by a storm in week 1, is a little bit floundering here. He does have the MVP quarterback maybe on his team, putting up 30 a week. It seems like 31 this week. Jonathan Taylor put up a huge performance against Chicago, put the team on his back, did not allow Anthony Richardson to fumble and throw the ball away, did not allow him to throw the game away. Jonathan Taylor, 110, 2 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson is what sank the ship of the You're Not Worthy team. 23 yards and a fumble ain't going to get it done for 0.3 points. Xavier Worthy also has been almost absolutely nothing since week 1. He's not really involved in the passing game. There's a few alarm signs going off about Xavier Worthy. Obviously, he's a big play threat, but in your wide receiver spot, every single week, you want something more consistent than that. Jackson Smith and Jigba, they didn't need him. We talked about that game. They ran the ball with Charbonnet, and they threw the one bomb to DK, and that was the game. It's 24-3. The game was over. They knew Miami had nothing, so run the ball, get out of there with a win. Smart coaching, not great for JSN. Sam Laporta, also another tight end. The tight end won last year. The guy who set the world on fire as a rookie, where is he? We don't know. 4.5 points. Aaron Jones had a nice week. We love Aaron Jones. We hate to see him do it in a Vikings jersey. I'm happy for the man. He's playing well. 23 points, over 100 yards, absolutely roasted Houston. On Jake's bench, we got to find a way to get Khalil Shakir in the game. Khalil Shakir is showing up every single week. You want that stack with Josh Allen. He's the most consistent pass catcher on that team, other than Dalton Kincaid potentially. Kincaid has not been that consistent either. I would be putting Shakir in my lineup every single week. On Erica's side, Baker Mayfield crapped the bed for the first time this year. I thought he's looked really good. Again, they didn't show up for that game. Less than 9 points for Mayfield. ETN salvaged his week just on volume. He gets 10.5. Again, I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. I think Doug Peterson's going to lose his job because they look bad. They did get boathoused by a great Bills team, but they pissed the game away in week 1 against Miami. with Tua there. They gave up 350 yards to the Dolphins. They had that game in a chokehold, couldn't get it done, and they ain't looked right since. Cam Akers gets in the end zone, the only one on Houston to get in the end zone, and gives Erica a solid week at running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown does it with volume, falls in the end zone, 17 points. Malik Neighbors is the story of Team America's year so far. The guy's breaking records. I was telling everybody all about him all offseason long. The boys didn't want to hear it because he was a giant. He's already one of the best wide receivers in the game, and he's played 4 games now. We all saw what he did last night, too. The kid looks phenomenal. Hopefully he's not out next week. I mean, good googly moogly. I don't think there's anybody in the game right now that can cover that guy. Dalton Kincaid got in the end zone, was involved early in the game, and then it was a blowout. I mean, they went to James Cook, they went to Khalil Shakir, they went to their other weapons, and they didn't really go back to him too much. Chris Godwin has been having a nice year at the expense of Mike Evans last week. Chris Godwin, 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Nice week out of him. Chuba Hubbard and the Packers defense. This might be, you call me homer all you want. Packers defense scored 23 points. When you do that, you deserve a mention. They were all over Will Levis. If your defense is playing Will Levis, expect at least 10 points, because even if they score on it, he's going to give you the ball at least twice to get you to 10. Chuba Hubbard had a big week too. That team wanted to show everybody that they're maybe not as bad as you think they are. They just needed a quarterback who can distribute the ball. They do have some weapons on offense. Deontay Johnson is a quality wide receiver. Adam Thielen had an okay game too, but he got hurt. He ain't playing this week. So let's see what Xavier Legette's got. You know, it's nice to have a quarterback that can get the ball in the hands of your wide receivers and your fantasy assets. On to the next one. We have the Hit Me With Your Prescott, who Trish's team here, looking solid. She's got some guys here that are putting up points. She's gotten the big J.K. Dobbins weeks, week 1, week 2. Not such a big week this week. I think we're going to have a little problem in Dobbinstown right now because we have Joe Alt Elite, as I like to call him. I love that. And Rashawn Slater. I think they're both hurt right now. Justin Herbert is nursing some injuries as well. He may or may not play. He's been known to play, but when he's hurt like that, he was not very effective last year. Yet to see what's going to happen here. They're playing Kansas City. I don't like it next week or this weekend. Dak Prescott had a big game for her in a comeback when, again, Dallas inexplicably lets Baltimore jump out all over him. Derrick Henry's running all over him. She benefited from the 2 biggest scores in this game. Derrick Henry, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then she gets Dak, scores a rushing touchdown, throws for 379, and throws for 2 touchdowns without CeeDee Lamb being involved in the game. Wild. Tony Pollard, I don't know what to say. I mean, they were getting smashed by Green Bay. Will Levis was turning the ball over. Can't get a lot done there. Garrett Wilson gets in the end zone, 12 points. Solid week out of him. Nico Collins has probably one of the highest floors of any wide receiver in the league right now because consistently every game he's catching a 20, 30-yard pass down the field, what feels like twice a game. When you're doing that, your floor's 10 points a week. He had a floor game this week in a game, again, where they got embarrassed by Minnesota. Dallas Goedert, again, the 3 points that won this week for Trish. Dak Prescott, Derrick Henry, and the tight end 1 in the league right now. Yes, the tight end 1 in fantasy, Dallas Goedert, off the back of a 10-reception, 170-yard week. Should have gotten the end zone. He's a little old and slow, and he got caught on a 61-yard pass. If he gets in the end zone there, we're looking at a 30-point week out of Goddard. Chris Olave, he was the one that was catching the passes this week at the expense of the goose that we got out of Rashid Shaheed, and he scores 17.5 points. On Strozzi's side, great week from Joe Burrow. Looked terrible in the red zone, but it was nice to see him getting the ball to Jamar Chase. Throws for over 300, 3 touchdowns. You like it? That's what we expect out of Joe Burrow. Zach Moss also had a nice game there. In the same game for Strozzi, 18 points. Through the air, on the ground, was doing it all. DJ Moore, 11 points, did it off of volume. You'd love to see the guy get in the end zone. I think we're going to see that this week. I think we're going to see the Chicago offense look a little better this week. We'll get into that in a second. Devonta Smith, 7 catches, 79 yards. Gets knocked out of the game, though. And I believe the guy who hit him got fined $4,000. I mean, okay. What's $4,000 to a guy who's getting paid millions when he absolutely levels a kid and he's going to be out next week? I don't understand how that's acceptable in any way. But anyway, I'm not calling for fines. I don't really like fines. But if you're going out of your way to hurt somebody, then I think you should pay a little bit more than $4,000 if we're doing that, NFL. New York Jets put up 16 points. Seattle puts up 12. Whatever about defense. We've been there, talked about it. Moving on. Let's get into the last one so we can get to the last little piece we're going to do for you guys. The Just the Incredibles. Again, like Wilson said, can somebody beat Brant? The guy's living on top. You know what? I love Brant flexing, getting in the chat, talking the shit. We love it. But somebody's got to beat this guy. He's way too confident right now. And why wouldn't you be? Kyler Murray's playing well. He didn't win this game, but again, he's got a nice floor because of the rushing. He's getting the ball to my Marvin Harrison. As long as he's doing that, I'm happy. You'd like to see him start winning some games for Arizona, but I thought overall Kyler's looked all right this year. Maybe not week 1. We were a little upset. We remember why, right? 1 catch from Marvin Harrison. What are we doing? But we're past that. We moved on. We get over it. David Montgomery had a big week for Brant. Scores 20 points, 105 on the ground, touchdown, solid as they come. Jordan Mason, again, Brant's probably right, might be the best pickup of the year. Some people are saying Christian McCaffrey might not be back until after Thanksgiving. If that is the case, then Brant might ride his way right into the fantasy playoffs off the back of one Jordan Mason alone. Brant even overcame the zero burger from the high-flying Rashid Shaheed. Again, should have been more. He dropped a 50, 60-yard touchdown. That's 12 points right there. And he dropped another deep pass, too. He's not going to do that every week. He's going to find a way to get it done. And you're going to see him get back into his high-flying ways, I think, when he gets a little bit better matchups. Justin Jefferson, 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Love to see it. We see Deontay Johnson had a nice game. 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Thank God for Andy Dalton, Deontay Johnson. Brent was trying to trade him. I bet he's not trying to do it anymore because I think Andy Dalton's going to be able to get that done. Maybe not to the tune of 22 fantasy points for Deontay Johnson every week, but I think you're going to see him be a lot more involved. He's the only game in town right now with Adam Thielen being out, and he's a talented wide receiver. We already talked about Jamar Chase. It's really nice to see him get back to doing Jamar Chase things. I mean, honestly, the wide receivers on Brandt's team, if they're all hitting in a week, good luck beating that man because you got some good ones there. And if Jordan Mason carries them, Brandt's team's looking strong. Luis almost did it, though, on the back of Lamar Jackson, looking nice, running the ball, in for a score, all kind of yards on the ground, 87 yards on the ground, 182 in the air, passing touchdown, rushing touchdown. Baltimore gets to win to get off the slide of 0-2 that they started in. Devon Achane, there's going to be better days ahead. Tyler Huntley, please, can you get on the field in Miami and get the ball to some of these pass catchers so that Achane can get back to doing what he does best, find an open space and running down the sideline. Najee Harris has been solid. I think Najee Harris is going to have a great week this week. We'll get into why. Tyler Lockett, Michael Pittman. We got rid of Michael Pittman, Luis, because Anthony Richardson might be the least accurate quarterback in all of football right now. And I can't sit there and watch that man not throw the ball to one of the most solid young wide receivers in the game. It's very frustrating. Brock Bowers, I think he's probably one of the best tight end options you can have right now, particularly going in to week 4. Devontae Adams is out. Brock Bowers is going to get everything from Gardner Minshew. Jacoby Myers is going to get some of it too. Brock Bowers is too good to not see 10 targets, if you ask me, in week 4. He had a solid week in week 3, 5.5 points. Romo Dunze was the story of Luis's team coming to life. Seems like he's the only one that really has big-time chemistry with Caleb Williams. Multiple nice over-the-shoulder catches. He did get a little bit banged up. He's been on the injury report going into week 4. But Romo Dunze in week 3 against probably one of the worst secondaries in football, which is wild that Caleb Williams couldn't do more with that, put up 112, 6 catches and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins came back to life a little bit, scored 16 points. He's the only one that did anything against Green Bay for Tennessee. So, nice win, Brant. That rounds it out. Again, topsy-turvy world. Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold riding high, and some big-time games. Everybody thought New Orleans and Philly was going to be a shootout. It went 12-15, and it was a running game on the back of Saquon. So let's get into this. This is what we're going to do here, guys. We're going to talk about 2 starts of the week in each position which we have to start as fantasy managers. And guys you wouldn't necessarily think about. I'm not going to give you the number 1 overall. I'm not going to tell you to start Josh Allen, okay? We know to start Josh Allen. So, at quarterback, this is what I got for you. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a big week this week. Here's why. The Los Angeles Rams passing defense is terrible, okay? They just got eaten alive by Juwan Jennings, a career wide receiver 3. And although talented and can step into a big spot, he's not Romo Dunze. He's not DJ Moore. Keenan Allen's probably coming back this week. Cole Kmet came alive last week. I think this week might be the first week where you see Caleb Williams throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 2, we're riding off the back of last week's Red Rifle, shooting for the moon. Cincinnati, another one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Jane Daniels is playing great as a rookie. Washington is not a world-beating passing offense. They made Jane Daniels look like an MVP. The man only missed on 2 passes. He's a rookie. Andy Dalton is a veteran. He looked great last week against a team that I think has a better pass rush and arguably maybe a better secondary. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think you might see 600 yards through the air between Dalton and Joe Burrow. And if you need a spot start, I think you could do worse than Andy Dalton this week. Moving on to running backs. Najee Harris. I love Najee Harris this week. Indy has probably, potentially, maybe the worst run defense in the league. They're terrible, okay? Green Bay, when they were lining up and you knew the only thing they had with Malik Willis. Malik Willis has been great. Thank you, Malik Willis, for the 2 wins. We love it. But it's Malik Willis. We ain't going to throw the ball. Josh Jacobs ran the ball 32 times that game, okay, to the tune of 5.5 yards roughly a carry, 160 yards on the ground. They had 8 guys in the box that couldn't stop anybody. Arthur Smith likes to run the ball. If there's anything that he can do well, it is run the ball. Jalen Warren is hurt. He's not playing this week. It's already been announced. Line up Najee Harris. He's going to have a good week. I think he finds the end zone. We're looking at 15-plus points for Najee Harris. Another one. We're picking on some game totals here a little bit. You'll see a trend. Zach Moss. I like Zach Moss this week because Carolina's run defense is terrible. They lost their top 2 interior defenders. The only guy they had left on defense, Derek Brown, he went down week 1 or week 2. He's gone. The guy who replaced him, he went down last week. Who's going to stop Zach Moss? Okay? If the Bengals get any type of lead in this game, and even if they don't, even if it's close, Zach Moss is going to have a day. I don't really like Zach Moss, but against this team, he's going to have a good day. He just did it against Washington. I think Carolina's got a worse defense than Washington. I think we're going to see another nice week out of Zach Moss. A wide receiver. We already talked about it a little bit. Romo Dunze goes right along with Caleb Williams. Romo Dunze, you've seen it a little bit now, okay? Especially this last week against Indianapolis. The Rams passing defense ain't any better. Okay, maybe they got a little better pass rush. However, in the secondary, they're horrible. I think Romo Dunze is going to have a nice week again. Keenan Allen is coming back this week. This is one that I might be wrong about. because of the variance, but there seems to be a connection there between Caleb and Rome Odunze. When Caleb Williams is throwing the ball down the field, he's looked the best throwing it to Odunze. I think he has a nice week. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell's out. Okay? Wings up for Houston against a horrendous Jags pass defense. The Jacksonville Jaguars, okay, couldn't find their spectacles, couldn't find their lunch money, couldn't find their shoes sitting on the floor mat in front of the front door when they were trying to defend the Buffalo Bills pass game. Now, granted, CJ Stroud is not Josh Allen. However, I don't think it's going to matter. I think CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins are going to eat this week. If you had any question whether you're playing Stephon Diggs, light him up. Tank Dell's out. And I think Tank Dell's already been ruled out as well. Monitor it, check that. I know Jalen Warren has. I think Tank Dell with the rib injury is not playing this week. More for Stephon Diggs, who's already looked decent this year. He had a nice week one. He had a nice week last week. I think he gets more this week. Tight end, this is where it gets gross. Okay? Tyler Conklin. We saw what he did against the Patriots. Granted, Patriots got a couple guys on defense that I like. Christian Gonzalez is a good young corner. They're not great on defense. They're kind of middle of the pack. However, they're running up against Denver this week. The reason why I like Tyler Conklin is because Aaron Rodgers is starting to look as accurate as he used to. And honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers looks better this year, right now, in the last couple of weeks, than he looked his last year in Green Bay. Other people have been saying it. I watched it with my eyes. I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers run the ball like that and being able to escape pressure and get out and throw the ball on the run like that in probably 5-6 years. That's from a Green Bay fan. He likes his tight ends, okay? We all remember what he did with the no-name Tunyon. He made Robert Tunyon a thing. Robert Tunyon is a nobody at tight end, okay? He likes his tight ends because if they can figure out how to work their way between the zones down the field, he'll find them. He'll figure out how to get them the ball. I like Tyler Conklin. The other reason, like I said, if I didn't mention it yet, they're playing the Denver Broncos. Pat Surtain is the best young corner in the NFL right now. He's gone up against DK Metcalf. He went up against, I believe, Tyreek Hill, potentially as well. I'm forgetting my schedule a little bit here, but he's going up against Garrett Wilson. The wide receivers that he's gone up against this year, they're top 12 guys. I don't remember all their names right now. Go back and look. He has allowed no more than 30 yards in primary coverage against him, against any of those wide receivers this entire season. Okay? And that goes back into last year, too. Look it up. The man is as shut down as it comes. You do not want your guy going against Pat Surtain right now. Number 2, Zach Ertz. There's a primary reason here. I'm picking on high overall. If you need a tight end, I think you can play Zach Ertz this week because that game is going to shoot out. Neither defense is good. Jaden Daniels has been finding Zach Ertz when he needs to, okay? I think you can get a solid 7-8 points out of Zach Ertz this week. And what more can you ask for a tight end? If he falls in the end zone, you're going to be super happy. If you're hurting, look at Zach Ertz. We're going to wrap it up here and get out of here. Defense, New Orleans Saints, okay? New Orleans lost last week and they got run on, yes, but they only gave up 15 points, okay? The New Orleans Saints have looked good this year, way better than I would have expected. They have a great run defense. It's a division game. They're playing against Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta has found their footing on offense yet, okay? Kirk Cousins, when he's under pressure, has looked a little bit lost in certain games this year. Hasn't been able to get the ball adequately into his receiver's hands like a top flight quarterback should be able to. So I think they're going to bring pressure. And the other thing is Atlanta is missing 2 starters off of their otherwise great offensive line. They're a top 5 offensive line when they're all healthy. They're not healthy. They're losing 40% of that offensive line this week. I like New Orleans. I think they're going to have a nice week on defense. Cleveland, Devontae Adams is out. And we're playing Gardner Minshew with no Devontae Adams. And I think that Cleveland is going to run the ball after what they saw last week of Deshaun getting sacked 10 times. Okay, they don't want to see that again. All right. Max Crosby is out. I think they're going to be able to run the ball, control the ball on offense. I think their defense is going to match up to Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. I think Brock Bowers is going to get it done with volume. I don't know how Los Angeles is going to move the ball without Devontae Adams on the field. And Denzel Ward lining up on Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers, even though I think he's a good wide receiver, is a little bit overmatched in that matchup. Denzel Ward is a good corner. And I think Cleveland's going to get after it, and they're going to live up to their name on defense this week. So that's what I got for you guys. I hope you liked it. I know it was a lot of me talking, but the show must go on. The boys can go hit the slots, hit the pool, do belly flops, jump around, whatever they're doing. Hopefully they'll be back next week. But if they're not, the show goes on. Fantasy World goes on. I hope you had fun last week, and I hope you get a win this week, unless you're playing against me, Jacoby. In that case, take an L. We're out of here.